Daily TV, the voice of the stone, the wind is sea. Dr. Susan Tatah, hold the line. Truth don't whisper, truth define. Live, live, live. Pan-African Daily, we are live. The wisdom, the voice, the fire we bring. Building the Africa, that's the thing. Who walks in front? We do. Whose story is this? It's true. From the cave to the cloud, from the soil to the star. Pan-African Daily, here we are. They saw the narrative, we bought it back. Changambaya on the counter attack. No filter, no fear, no foreign frame. Africa speaking her own name. Susan Tatah, hold the mic. The past is present, the future's like this. Pan-African Daily TV. The truth, the voice, the way. Join us live.
You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tatah. The Africa we want. Unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherlands calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa.
Pan-African Daily TV, the voice of the stone, the wind is sea. Dr. Susan Tatah, hold the line. Truth don't whisper, truth define. Live, live, live. Pan-African Daily, we are live. The wisdom, the voice, the fire we bring. Building the Africa, that's the thing. Who walks in front? We do. Whose story is this? It's true. From the cave to the cloud, from the soil to the star. Pan-African Daily, here we are. They saw the narrative, we bought it back. Changambaya on the counter attack. No filter, no fear, no foreign frame. Africa speaking her own name. Susan Tatah, hold the mic. The past is present, the future's like this. Pan-African Daily TV. The truth, the voice, the way. Join us live.
Greetings, 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 greetings. As you can see, the spirit in the studio tonight is different. I think you feel the vibe, you feel the voices, the spirit of the young people saying, Africa's youth are not the kind of youth that you have to teach them what to do. Because this youth here, they know everything. They know what they want. They know what they need. They know what is wrong. They know the solution. They have everything. Because sometimes I think when we say Africa's youth, people start, thinking a lot of things in their minds like, oh, youth are just like children. We're going to tell them what they don't know. The world relies on the youth of Africa. I did not say the continent. Did you hear me? I said the world today and tomorrow relies and depends and looks up onto the youth of Africa. Most often we go around saying, oh, Africa, people are coming to Africa because of their resources, the resources of the continent, gold, diamond, blah, blah, blah. I'm just telling you today, and I've been telling you for 5 years, the biggest resources on the continent of Africa is the youth. That is what the world fears most. If you know what gives politicians, geopolitical, global leaders a sleepless night, it is the youth of Africa. Ask me this every time, every day. I'm going to tell you the same thing. Because they distract us with geopolitical situations. Oh, there is war here. There is a challenge here. There is poverty here. There is this. Yes, we are not disagreeing. That's the fact. It is. What is the solution? And what is causing the wars? It is just because the world is so afraid and so scared of Africa's youth. So tonight we're going to be talking about one serious biggest challenge on the continent of Africa. And this challenge is not a coincidence. No, it is not. This challenge is like, you put a mountain that is unmovable and everything has to surround it. And tonight is the unemployment of Africa's youth. And I can tell you very clean and clear, it's a deliberate act. It is not a coincidence because Africa's youth, like I said, are the epitome, they are the turning point of the world. And so if a continent is growing at a speed that is uncatchable, and they look at it as a threat to the future of the world, it means what? Innovations, job creations, investors, everything is going to come up from this continent. Why? Because, of course, one of the continents that is growing, that we see these measures, is China, the Republic of China, which is approximately also catching up with the population of Africa's youth, but they're already kind of like stopped. What else can China bring to the world? We know about their industrialization. We know about everything, technologies that they've been developing. What else? What is new? And the only thing that is new, people, that's why I want, if you're joining and you're watching this show, make sure you're sharing, because this is the right moment. We are starting to listen to the voices of the young people and the elders and the adult youths. So our elders will be joining as mentors, and youth and adult youth like us. Of course, we're all youth, but adult youth, like Museveni said. I mean, we once were youth. What are you talking about youth? So the biggest thing is, what is Africa's youth up to? We just don't know what strategies they have. We don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. For China, we know. For America, we know. For Europe, we know. For the entire Western world, we know us already. We know that they're bringing technology on the platform. We know that they're even remodernizing all the technologies of the past, all what we're calling the AIs. They have been here with us since time immemorial. It's just been released, okay? But what the world has been having sleepless night thinking and unsleepable is, what is Africa's youth up to? What are they going to bring on the table? And because they cannot figure this out, that's why we see the unemployment on the continent of Africa. So please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me voices of Africa's youth, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and the present. I'm very happy I have the Princess Nokola Dube, who is just joining us from Zimbabwe. I had been waiting for her to connect before we can go live, but she's right here and she's greeting you guys and say hello. I'm right here. Peter, don't be upset.
Okay.
Abeson, don't be upset, because she just came in and I pulled her onto the screen. But you see, sometimes they say the last is the first, and she's right here. Miss Dube is right here. So we welcome you, Princess, and onto Pan African Daily TV today. It is a pleasure to have you here, and we want to see, or we want to hear, we want to know what are the solutions that you are creating on the continent of Africa on the biggest challenge that the world, or crisis that people describe as the unemployment crisis of the continent of Africa. So you're welcome here tonight, and it will be a pleasure to share with you. I hope you can hear me, and can you hear me, Dube? Can you hear me?
Good evening. Yes, ma'am. I can hear you. I can hear you. How are you?
Thank you very much. Get yourself ready. I'm still going to pull you up, but I just wanted to show your beautiful face so that your audience can greet you. Okay?
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
So, and we have Dr. Focus Azaria that has been the first. And I mean, we've been doing the testing and everything, the mic and all sort of, together with him. Welcome, Dr. Azaria. It's a pleasure to have you here as an African government authority in the sector of legal, and a founder. Okay. I mean, we want to understand the challenge that is actually embedded in the unemployment, which is kind of like the biggest monster that has to be tackled by Africa's youth. We're so happy to have you here to get your solution, to get your opinion and the way forward. All right, good. So I also want to introduce our next speaker, which is our best son, Alex. If you can unmute, Mr. Alex is coming, is joining us from the Pearl of Africa, which is Uganda. I think you have to unmute your phone. If not, that's why you're hearing double. So Mr. Alex will be joining this conversation to tell us solutions that what on the continent of Africa in terms of to tackle, the unemployment. Oh, the unemployment on the continent of Africa. Thank you so very much for being with us here. I think you're from Zimbabwe. No, Uganda. Uganda. Thank you very much. Wonderful. And we have another great speaker joining us from Tanzania, Mr. Peter Tricky. Oh no, he's joining us from the Central African Republic. You see, Africa is one. I just don't even know how to begin to say this one comes from this. It's just so difficult for me because I just know Africa is just a one place, right? And so we welcome our brother Peter Tricky, who is right here with us from the Central African Republic. Majestically, all of them are presentable in the studio and they're ready to tackle the solution to Africa's unemployment on this channel on Pan African Daily TV, New Era, where the voices of Africa's children is speaking. Thank you very much, sir. We'll be bringing you back live on the show. Now we have a surprise guest, as you just saw last minute ago when I posted, and everybody was kind of like, "What is going on, Dr. Sant? What is going on with you?" So yes, now because I told you it is the period and it's the time for the youth, what we are having today on Pan African Daily, and which is what is going to continue to happen, is the elders, our speakers, our mentors, our teachers, our experienced public speakers that have been advocating for the agendas that we have on the Africa we want, in the same person of King Maponga Joshua, who is going to be the mentor for the youth today. He is right in the studio, but we're not going to bring him on the platform right now because he has to listen to all what the youth will be talking about and would only come in the last session of the conversation to actually give his mentorship and I'm sorry, he's asking some questions. So to give his opinion about the general mentorship that we're going to be having here. So what is happening on the Pan-African Daily is our youth would be coming up in their sessions to talk about, to provide solutions. We're also going to get experts like Dr. Aziria that is also going to be with us on the shows in different formats, whether they are doctors, whether they are health professionals. They are all going to join this new spirit of Pan-African Daily TV here to bring in their expertise on every topic that the youth are going to be deciding and giving us the solution. So this time, all of us just have to hush and we listen to what they're going to say. So I'm going to start with Dr. Azaria. Please, the floor is yours. Who are you? What are you doing? What is your mission? What is your focus? What is your contribution? And what is your say about the topic for today? Over to you.
Thank you. About my experience, I'm the best researcher, a professional researcher, professional OHSE auditor and safety management auditing the systems. So that is my highest level of the skill that I got, including being a frontline leader in the biggest mining in the world, the Barrick Gold mining. I used to have the experience for 10 years working inside there at the first frontline leader on emergency rescue situations in the mining. So from that experience, I've gone through the Pan-Africanism movements research that have been done well and useful through the PLO Lumumba Foundation inputs. That is my best, highest successful in my entire life. I don't know where I'm going, but for the currently, I see myself there, the African government founder, that the best word marketing requirement in the world, because the African government is the word idea until now. And in my research, we don't have the word government in the world. All the government in the world have been inherited. We've been given the governments, including those in the USA. They don't have, if you want to see them go through their
I guess he's freezing. I'm absolutely sorry. Dr. Azaria is freezing. Okay. It's unfortunate. I mean, he's freezing, so we actually could not hear him. But I posed a question. Is he audible enough? And I'm asking all of you there. Omara, please check the sound check out there and make sure everything is working out rightly. Because to me in the studio, until I have to listen on this, I cannot actually get him. Is he audible? I also want to greet you, Amos Oyango, that is joining us from Kenya, Nairobi. Thank you so very much for joining this conversation, Emmas. Are we audible enough here in the studio? Can you really hear us? Thank you very much. I think he would connect back. It's just a matter of connection, I guess. So, but in the meantime, I want to add Peter on the stage. Peter, you're joining us from Central African Republic. Can you introduce yourself and open your statement on the topic that we're talking about, why we try to get the other guests reconnect? Over to you, Peter.
Okay, thank you very much for giving me the floor. I'm very happy to join this discussion today from the Central African Republic. I am Peter Twiki, a youth leader and founder of Masika Empowerment Center in the Central African Republic. I am passionate about youth empowerment, education, leadership, and social media. And my experience about leadership is that I've followed the yearly training, Young African Leadership Initiative. So my training was in Nairobi, Kenya. So I used to be a representative of my country, and today is such another honor for me to represent my country again in this Pan-African platform so that we can share everything about youth in order to have the Africa we all want. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think Dr. Zaria is back in the studio. Let me just reconnect back to him. Thank you so much for that short introduction. We'll be getting back to you in a very short while. In the meantime, I have to bring back Dr. Azaria, and also to remind all our leaders and all our viewers, all of you that are watching us from the continent and in the diaspora, that this is the new Pan-African Daily TV. Even though we've been existing for 6 years, we learned from the elders. Now is the time, and the time of the youth is right here. I really just want to quickly confirm to you that the youth mentor in the person of King Maponga Joshua is sitting right here and listening and watching, and he will be the one to assess the conversations that we're talking about. But let me just, bring him on stage so you know that, we are not just actually just fantasizing and saying he's in the studio in the background. Like, how can a king just be in the background, and just not doing anything? So you can see him live and direct. He's going to be with us shortly. He's listening to the conversation. My king, do you just want to say a word?
Well, what a great joy to be with you again after some few months. And I think the events of the days, the technology that is coming in, the political shifts, the new political heroes that are coming up on the continent, we are beginning to see a new form of youth involvement. And I think we want to challenge all the young people, get on board, fasten your seatbelts. We are about to increase the speed.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much for that very quick one. You have heard him. Fasten your seatbelt. So we go back to Dr. Azaria, who was actually telling us, as an African government authority in legal affairs, as a founder and a keen follower, most of you are here to replace or to sit and to share your expertise with the new that we're building on Pan African Daily TV. As you see, all the experts of yesterday are becoming the mentors of today. To listen, if you were listening to everything that they were teaching, and if you're ready right now to give up the or to take upon the mantle. Over to you, Dr. Azaria.
Thank you. So that was my shortly introduction on how and where I come from and where I see myself in the Pan-Africanism movement, And thank you for the first time, as you said, we have today the Pan-Africanism TV that we can communicate, like how now we can see each other with our elder Joshua Maponga. So there with that, I'm ready now to proceed with the topic on the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I want to also greet one of our powerful viewer and also a young leader from Cameroon. Gad is watching us and saying greetings to all of us from the continent of Cameroon, the land of Cameroon on the continent of Africa. I'm so sorry. And so, yes, we have seen you. You're watching from Cameroon. We salute you and all our people out there. So, yes, we have all seen. Now we want to get an introduction from the Princess of Zimbabwe, who is right here with us. Miss Dubey, I'm sorry. Can you introduce yourself?
How are you? Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Lichonile, Maswera, I know we speak different languages. My name is Noktula Dube from Zimbabwe. I'm a Zim Papers correspondent. Besides being a correspondent in Zim Papers, I'm also a Commonwealth liaison officer for African Women chapter in Zimbabwe. Yes, in short, that's me.
In short, that's you. All right. I would love to open this conversation with you, Dubey. I mean, if you look at the situation on the African continent today and the plight of the young people, which apparently seems like, there's this huge unemployment, universities are actually teaching and producing, what we say workers for the system. And sometimes Africa's youth is like, university or the whole education system is a scam, because you cannot invest all how many a couple of years paying school fees, buying books, living up, getting every time to go to school. It's like a 7 hours job every day that you do, and you graduate from that investment institute called university, and then you don't get a job. And so Africa's youth are angry and they say, this is a scam. This is some kind of something that we cannot. If an education system doesn't give us the tools to be able to create jobs that can employ ourselves, then something is wrong with that system and we want to change. What is your opinion to it, Dobe?
Yeah, that's the painful part, because we are the youth and we are affected. I know more lot of girls, they are most affected in this sector, and it has pushed most young girls to be prostitutes or to do what they are not supposed to do. If you notice these days, if you want to get a job, if you're a lady or something, you have to offer something, which is your body. Most African women or most African youth, and they were losing the youth because of that. And it's now becoming common for a lady to just sleep around because you have to get a job, whether to be a maid, whether to be just a simple job to be an administrator, or to just do something random, something that you didn't even study. And most of these people, they went to study for medicine, which was 7 years, or I don't know how many years, or you want to start journalism 4 years, or law to 4 to 5 years. But at the end of the day, you are just like, there is no job, there is nowhere to go. Or even if there is a job, they offer you money that is very sick, that you cannot sustain yourself at the first place. You cannot sustain even the parents or the ones that they took you to school. I think there is something is there is a huge gap now. Even if like you talk about education, someone asks you, "What? Okay, you are educated. Then what else?" Because someone who's not educated is doing better than you. It's as if like we're mocking those people that are going to school. As youths, I don't know, honestly speaking, what can be done is good.
I don't
With the
understand where
system,
the music
those that are
background is
supposed
coming
to.
from. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Miss Dube. Where's the music background coming from? I can hear our brother Glagla is saying there's a music background. Where is it coming from? Can you just tap it in the comment? Reduce. This is what we get. Reduce the volume of the music in the background, or better still, stop it. I don't have any music background in the studio, so I just don't know if it's coming from our guest. Can you please point it out to us where the music background is coming from? Thank you very much. I'm sorry, Miss Dube. Go ahead.
Okay, ma'am. I was saying was a lot of these things they are happening, and as well as the boy child is affected, not only the girl child. If you have noticed, mostly I can speak for Zimbabwe, we have got a high rate of crime, robbery, and you find that the educated people, they are now selling around the streets, whether they are taxi drivers or those commute windies. We call them windies, touts. Actually, those are touting. They don't have proper jobs, but they're supposed to be the fathers of the future. They're supposed to be some people's husbands, and they can't actually provide for the families or themselves. And then the same society will tell you you can't be a man when you don't have money. But you went to school and then you sacrificed a lot. Actually, the parents are the ones that will be sacrificing. And sometimes you just get the sense and then you add on, you continue with your degree, then you finish. But at the end of the day, you have nothing to offer. We remain the youth.
That is very, very pertinent on what he's saying. I want to ask Abesan, what do you think about what Ms. Dubé just said? This is very key. Did you understand what she was saying, Alex? Alex, can you unmute? You're still muted. Alex, can you hear me? Unmute your speaker. Peter, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, of course.
Thank you very much. You heard what he was, what Ms. Dubé was saying about this dilemma of going to school and in the end ending up being a trader on the street or something like that. What do you say about that?
Yes, thank you. I think that this fake is not just going on in Zimbabwe where she is, but I think that even here in the Central African Republic, we've been facing the same issue. And I think that this is a great matter that we should solve. And the problem is what, according to my opinion, I think that the problem is universities are producing graduates, but not always producing employable graduates. Many young people get diplomas, but they are lack of practical experience. Why? Because what they learn at the university is just based on theory and not practice. So when you complete your studies and then you seek for a job, you will see that the reality is different to what you learn. So that's why they are just doing something that can help them to survive. So the studies is like a failure. So, for instance, can you imagine some students that studies communication just on theory, and they receive limited training in digital marketing, social media management, or content creations. So at the end, when they seek for a job, the experience that the company is waiting for them, they don't have. But nobody can hire an employee who doesn't have the skills that the business needs. So, as solution, I think that the system has to be changed, that we need to adapt the programs or the curriculums from the universities with the reality of what we are living with the today's world, because we are not in 1980s, no longer. We are not in 1990s any longer. We are in the 21st century, and now we have technologies, we have AI, we have so many things. So why are we staying on theory? So we need to learn with practice, so that when we complete our studies and we seek for a job, our experience, our skills, we match with the needs of the job market. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This cannot be well articulated. So, at the format of education, Ms. Dubé, like Alex or Peter is saying, is like it's just out of context. Like we're still using the archaic template to what the main market is need. Like you're taught what you are not needed for. So, do you think this is something that is actually just happening, or it is actually it's a system that is designed to be like that? Dubé, I want to come back to you. I mean, like, how on earth can the curriculums not
I think
meet
our
what the market need?
is supposed to evolve. Did you get me?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, it's supposed to evolve, because what the universities and these from high school, primary, high school to university, they are teaching us what is written in the textbook. And some of these things we are no longer using them. Can you imagine if we are taught about chaga and these things? They are not there at work. No one asked me about who was chaga. There is nothing like that, which is very true what he was saying. I think there is something wrong about our teaching. From the teaching up to the stage where we are, we're supposed to evolve. And since we're in digital era, we're supposed to teach things about, like you were saying, Guti, you are taught about theory, communication, but you are not going to apply that when you're at work. And there is a gap between meeting the work expectation and what you have been taught. Because sometimes we are taught, we cram to pass. Not that we know. But I have noticed that there is a kind of a change whereby like the poly guys, where they go to poly, they do practical, more of practicals. Of which universities, some of the universities hasn't evolved to that, to meet that standard whereby like we can be taught practicals. Because I remember when we went for attachment, it was a nightmare, honestly speaking. Even the boss would be like, guys, you give me work, you give me a lot of work. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to help you? And then they'll be laughing sometimes. And then you find one or two that have patience whereby they will teach you. But where we are right now, yeah.
Good. I want to come back to you. Alex, I'll bring you, and Dr. Azaria. His connection is really bad, but I want to focus on Peter and Dube, because you're bringing some very critical points on it. So the issue number one that we get here is the curriculum is outdated. They teach you what the market doesn't need, as a matter of fact. Like, it's just a theory. And even this theory is a cake, because, they teach us things that don't adapt to the reality on the continent. And this is one of the things that I want to come back to Alex and to Peter. I'm so sorry. To Peter. Peter, you talked about we are not taught what the market needs. Yes. We study mass communication, but we are not given the tools now to be in the digital space where it's all about content creation and telling our stories and using the digital latest products that are in the market, which we don't have. Now, but another thing that probably is wrong also is the knowledge that is not adaptable to the realities of the continent. Our curriculum teaches us, in my time, we read about European history. Yes. We studied Othello in literature. We studied Macbeth in literature. We read poems that had nothing to do with the continent of Africa. I mean, in most of the stories, it was about the European wars, about the European nations, about the European heroes and sheroes. It was about the snow. So we had atmospheres like you would read about the snow, the tales of Canterbury. The tales of Canterbury's were one of them, that we learned. And you're living in an environment you have never seen snow. You don't even know how snow looks like. And they are telling you about Othello and the sword, or like in geography or biological curriculum, they tell us to draw, like animals, or like like we say insects, something that has nothing to do with answer. So these political colonial agendas that we had, most of the literature we read was British heroes and sheroes and their names and whatever things, Lord and this and this and this, that had nothing to do with the African continent, that had nothing to tell you about our agriculture, about our culture, about our inventions, about our market. What does the African market need? There was nothing that taught us about our fabrics that we create ourselves, about our nature, our texture, our cosmetics, our everything, our food. We didn't have those kind of books. So we spent years learning about the Western culture, the Western technology, the Western stories, the Western thing, and the African child was left with nothing. So isn't that even the main problem before getting into that, Peter?
Yes, I think that this is a relevant question because what I tackled earlier was just a part of the problem, but I didn't tackle the whole problem. And you just let us know about something bigger, something very important if you really want to solve the problem we are going through. I think that we are too disconnected with our culture, as you just said. We have learned and we have been learning something that is not related with our own history, with our own culture, and that sometimes we cannot even see that this thing is useful for us, is not useful as history, For instance, I can talk about World War. And up to now, the Second World War is being taught in high school in the Central African Republic. But we don't know why. That's the biggest question. Why? Because when Germany is fighting against France, what is our problem? We don't know. When Russia is fighting against Spain or whatever country in Europe or America, we don't know why we've been learning this. But this program of World War is no longer being taught in France. So we can just see why here in Africa, but not there. So our governments in Africa really need to think on this question and to give us a good answer and to respond to our request or our need, so that this generation and the coming generation cannot live the same thing that the former one lived. So we have to do it together, hands in hands, not only the youth, because youth is not just the future of Africa. We are the present of the continent, and we are also the future of the continent. But in order to build something strong in the present, we need to do it with our elders. And they are actually working in the civil service. They are these ministers, these presidents, these deputies. So they have to answer to this request, because it is the future of Africa. And only the youth, we cannot decide on the solution. But if they give us support, I think that everything will be fine. And what we want to see, or the Africa we want to see, we will see it.
Correct. All right, I would like to bring Alex on the show right now. Want people a little bit of rest, because the thing is, we cannot get all of you on the show because of the conflicting microphones. So that's why I have to have Alex here alone. Alex, can you hear me now well?
Thank you very much. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can. So you've been listening.
Okay, thank you very much.
You've been listening to Dube, you've been listening to Peter, and I think even Dr. Achiri, who was kicked out of the show. So what is your contribution to this topic? Like, what is the main challenge on the unemployment? They've been talking about we cannot get jobs because the kind of curriculum, what they teach Africa is not what the market of Africa needs. And so you just study and get universities degrees, and you cannot respond to the market needs. So what is your opinion about that? We're first of all talking about the challenges, and then we're going to go back now to the solutions.
It's okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Tatah. My name is Abeson Alex. I come from Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, and I'm a proud Pan-Africanist. I love Africa, and I preach Africa in my blood and in all my actions. Now, the question of unemployment and education, as it is in contemporary Africa, is a question that we must be able to dissect in two ways. One, as we talk of unemployment as the biggest crisis in Africa, one thing that the first panelist did not talk about is referring to history, because I believe in the say that history erases the mystery. Now, let us talk about pre-colonial Africa, Africa before colonization. When we talk about unemployment, is it African? The question is both yes and no. Then secondly, the form of unemployment or employment that we have today, is it what we used to have in pre-colonial Africa? The answer is no. Now, before colonization, African education was passed to the young ones through the elders, through families, and it was done communally. And now that when you're a young person, when you're getting education, you're educated based on the needs of your community. You're educated based on the challenges, the problems that you need to solve within your community. And therefore, the education that you get is direct to the problem that you're facing.
Yes.
And Africans before colonization used to do practical work. The work and the education that was given to the African child was a practical one that when one gets the knowledge, is skilled enough to be self-reliant. And that's why Julius Kambarage Nyerere once quoted that African education should be able to ensure that generations stand self-reliant. And that was what was in pre-colonial Africa. And then the question of unemployment. In pre-colonial Africa, there was no unemployment because when you grow up, you are taught skills that engage you in productive work, either as a farmer, either as a smith, either as a trader, either as a hunter. At the end of it all, you're solving a problem within your community. Yes. So the training that you get was addressed specifically to a problem that you were facing in the community. And therefore, the idea of not having jobs after education is not African. It is colonial. Because history tells us that back then, the African child was engaged in work. Now, when we talk about employment today, we're referring to the issue of doing work and then getting a pay at the end of it all. And that was not the case in pre-colonial Africa. Before colonialism, Africans would work communally, and they would share the benefits of that work also communally.
Yes.
So the spirit of Ubuntu was in existence in all sectors of life, whether it was work, whether it was education, whether it was instilling of morality. The unity that Africa had was in all sectors. There was no segregation in terms of come and do this work and then I pay you later. No. You do work and then you benefit from the work communally. That was how Africa was in pre-colonial Africa. Now, through colonialism, we have now incorporated what we call colonial legacy. And I think the crisis we are facing now in Africa of youth unemployment is a colonial issue. Because one, after the coming of the colonialists, they now changed our informal education that helped us to skill us practically to solve problems by bringing formal education system, which was aimed at training us to only be clerks, administrators, and workers of the colonialists. We are currently even trained and taught theories that still make us to seek for jobs. Yet, in pre-colonial Africa, we are taught skills that made us to create jobs, innovate, and solve our problems. So now, the challenge that we have is that Africa has not revolutionized its education system, because the education system that we have right now is colonial, and we need to decolonize this colonial system of education. When you look at Africa, currently, the education system revolves around a lot of theories, which theories, at the end of it all, make us to seek for jobs only. And that is, to me, the biggest challenge that we have. Now, if that is the challenge, then what can be done? Because if we do not change the system of education that we have, then that is where we are also going to be trapped again and again. So first, to me, we need to identify what is the root cause of this unemployment. It starts right from the education system. That the education system is not functional as it is supposed to be, because it gives us theories, not skills, that make us to be job creators. When you look at current Africa, it produces more graduates than the jobs that are created by the economies that we have. And that is a big problem. Then secondly, we need to also look into our political system. The politicians realize that this is a danger to the African youth or not. Because at the end of it all, the question of the political will to create jobs and drive employment for the African youth is also another one that we need to answer. Now, the African youth, they are the greatest asset Africa ever has, and the universe will always have. Investing in them is investing in the future of Africa. And this investment comes when these African youths are educated with the practical skills that demand them to create jobs and to what? Innovate. So once that is done, then we will begin from there. But also, another challenge of unemployment is the issue of the colonial financial architect. You see, currently in the modern world, for you to be able to create a job, to innovate, and to transform in the communities that you are in, you must be able to have finances. You must be able to have capital. And when you look into pre-colonial Africa, we used to trade in terms of value and barter, not in terms of currency. But now we have this colonial system that deals with currency. So one of the greatest challenges coupled to the colonial education system is the issue of finances and startup capital. The financial architecture has been one that is also colonial, one that marginalizes the African youth not to have access to resources that would make them empowered and self-reliant to innovate and to create their own jobs. We have the ideas, we have the minds, we have the business proposals, but we lack the finances. And therefore, if we also need to address this problem, we need to look into the financial architect. Why does it leave the youth? Yet with the youth, we accumulate and formulate 70% of the African population. So these are areas that we need to look into when it comes to the problem of unemployment. That unemployment in itself is because of the colonial education system. And if we want to fight it, we must first start by decolonizing our education system. And then from there, we now also need to move to the political will of making sure the youth are empowered and are made self-reliant. Because we cannot talk about unemployment and then not talk about education. Just like Kwame Nkrumah once said, that education in itself must be able to produce citizens who are skilled enough to transform their societies. But the question is, producing skilled youth, producing knowledgeable youth. Because there's a difference between having knowledge and there's a difference between having a skill to address a problem, between having a skill to innovate. Yes, you can teach me about America, you can teach me about Europe, I can know that, but will that be able to help me to create a job that will address challenges in my society? That is one thing that we need to look into. You see, while I was in high school, I passed through a system that taught me about British Columbia, that taught me about America, that taught me about European history, the geography of the Western world. But when you come to Uganda, literally, you get to know even I don't know some of the parts of Uganda. And that is because of the education system. You get it? So when we need to end this vice of unemployment, we first need to contextualize our education system to the African reality, that our education must address the African challenges and must be related to the African needs, that we relate it to our needs as Africans. Then we shall realize our potential as youths, and we shall be able to actualize them to make Africa great again. I think I want to first stop there. Thank you.
Whew, thank you so very much. That was yeah. I think that's what I noticed in the beginning. Victoria, thank you so very much. Something is wrong with your microphone, so it keeps reflecting the speech of what you're saying. But yes, that's right. You unmuted it. I mean, you've been spilling a lot of things that we
But yes, that's right. You unmuted. I mean,
unmute,
it's been spilling
unmute,
a lot of things
mute
that
it,
unmute, unmute,
mute.
mute.
Okay. So what I actually meant was you have to mute
Okay.
your, because
So
that's what
what
means.
I actually meant was you have to mute because that's what it is.
Thank you. Correct. I want to thank all of you that are joining and connecting. I see a lot of, comments in the chat and the community actually being thankful and grateful that Pan African Daily TV is back. Thank you so very much for that warm welcome and recognition. Of course, we've been back. We've been back a long time ago, but we were just focused on the young people, the voices of the youth, and doing mentorship programs in the background. And these are the voices that you see speaking today. So, yes, we've been back. We never left, but we're just coming back now in a different format and in a new session. So, I want to thank you so very much, Dave Bertrand. I really want to thank you for being here. Teresa, thank you. A lot of slaughters. I want to thank you. I just want to recognize those of you that are in the chat, joining us and connecting us with today, because it's very important. Pan African Daily TV is a whole global family where we have the teachers, where we have the elders, where we have the experts bringing expert knowledge, and where we have the community. And the community is right here with us. Those that are chatting, those that are listening, and they're bringing their own input. So it's a whole ecosystem of African intelligence in terms of communication and how we process information. So I truly want to thank you, God. You've been pouring a lot of content out here, and you've also been tagging everybody to follow and watch this show, which I truly appreciate. Nina, I see you. Joy, of course, you've been here in the beginning until now. Lots me, Leo, thank you so very much, bro. Hey, I mean, it's been a damn while, but all of us are getting back into the second phase and in the right direction. Digitaria, of course, you've been pouring out everything that seems to be on point. Today, we're talking about the reason, the challenge of the unemployment that we see today. And I'm very happy. I think, the mentor for today is Maponga Joshua, who has been here in the studio. I think he's just listening to everything in the background. And at the end of the show, he's going to come up to collectively share his opinion. We also had Dr. Azaria, who was here in the beginning and keeps going out. Something is just not wrong, not right with his technique. Even when he's here, the volume is so low. I think I can see him back in the back room, and I'll be bringing him back on the session again. I hope he's been following up. One thing is very clear. Joshua Maponga said it sometimes long ago. The king said, any word that is not translated, that doesn't exist in your language is a foreign word. Any word, you get me right, and the audience, any word that you listen and you cannot say it in your language. We are not saying dialect. There's nothing like dialect. There's nothing like indigenous. All our languages are modern languages as it is. There's nothing like which is your first language, which is your second language. Your language that you speak with your mother and your father and your community and your village, it's a language. It's a recognized language. Okay, so we have to keep all those traditional language, indigenous language, local language, dialect. That doesn't exist. It's a language. So any word that is an English word that doesn't exist in your language is a foreign word. And if you bear with me, just think and process in your language the word unemployment or employment. If it exists in your language, it doesn't. Because exactly the process of employment and unemployment is not African. Doesn't exist in that term. Nobody has put it so perfectly like Alex put it in that question. And that's the fact. But we also see, I'm here in Germany. The biggest educational sector in Germany is vocational training sector. And this is typically the African job, or let's say job or community skill work system, where the market produces the amount of job that the community needs. If they want to train in nursing, they would first of all tell you how many employees the government needs. So we need like 600,000 nurses. And then they would inject the monies into the trainings that would train and even collect nurses, because they don't have that potentials or capabilities or people because of their job market. So they would take other foreigners. And that's why you see in America, in the African communities worldwide, nursing is one of those aspects. And even today, they are collaborating with institutions on the continent to train even nurses on the continent, train them through their language programs, and then re-employ them to serve in their communities because of that need. It's exactly what you said. If our communities don't produce the level that the community needs, then there's something wrong with that system. It means that system was not made for Africa by Africans. That system was a colonial system, and that's why we had to study the colonial curriculum so that we could understand the mindset of working with them. And that's why we wonder, even the migration, why it keeps going towards West, and the West itself knows it, but they condemn it and call it, no, they're running away from stuff. No, you actually know they're coming because you need the labor, and that's why you injected and created that kind of, transitions. So yes, it is not the answer. It is an example of a copy paste of what was copied in the African system. I am not saying it is the right. I'm just saying all these things that we see today were copied from the original systems, and they are bringing it back to it. Comparing an example is not a style. It is just giving you an overall of that what we see today and admire is what we know and we did originally. So thank you very much to that. I'm going to bring in Dr. Azaria, and probably I'll bring you back to the stage because Dr. Azaria, you were here. You are like, you say, an African government authority in the sector of legal issues. You're an or legal idea and founder. You've been listening to the biggest challenge, decolonization of the African curriculum that is being taught in the African systems, and going back to the system of not indigenous of the African system as it was in its original format. That's what your counterparts have been speaking about. But then we hear a comment that says, we keep always thinking about the past. Why can we not just forget and now move ahead to what we have now? Now the question is, can you move ahead without knowing your past? Can you move ahead without addressing your past? You are continuously going to be postponing what you're running away from. That's why we have the Sankofa, which is a traditional, not a traditional, the original African concept of go back to your roots so that you can know the future. If you don't visit your roots to understand what the root causes are, you will never be able. All these mindsets that keep saying, oh, we talk about slavery, we talk about this, is not going to bring us anything. We can turn around that for centuries if we don't address these issues. China had to do it. They would never be where they are today. So what is your concept about that? When it comes to you, you are frozen or you just kicked out. I just don't know what's going on. Are you hearing me?
It hurt me a lot as well. No, I'm here. I can hear you now. Thank you, Doctor. And what I can say about this is the white origin on the concept is the origin got all the manual, work, plan, form. So if you think the origin is the mad because God mad, that mad is your original plan for where to go. So and for I can speak just a little bit for those who fear to know this the history is simply because they like fake news, and in the fake news got all the comfort inside of that fake news. It will tell you, forget about that, we are brothers, and so the fathers do all the best, all the right all the time. And while the fathers also, they're waiting for the youngs to bring what is the reality from where they go and from where they land in the history, in the future, in what they're doing in everywhere. So they originate the best, and I'm inspiring or telling you why to learn and why not to fear the history, because the history got all the manual work plan for the future. And including this for the why the African government now, and where do I get this? I can surprise you that I got this from the origin. I listened a lot from the history from Joshua Maponga. I read a lot of books from different people, from different ancestors of Africa, different courts. I've gone through everything, and that put me to find the origin government idea from Africa, and which we called the African government, and I find the how to bring it out from the origin documents, from the origin history, from the origin suffering, from the origin colonialism history that hate and hurt a lot of from those did and from who received that pain. The best news are there. So if you fear the pain for the past, means you cannot get the plan for the future, because in the pain, in the hard road, it tells you everything. It tells you go here, go there. Because I can also prove this in this struggling of staying with the body system that we held it, like the education system. That told me I have to know how it's right or wrong. And if I know how it's wrong or right, I can know how can I make it better. But yes, where this better can I get if not from the history? Then I go through from like this in the education system. I find out they are just organizations like me and you and Maponga and anybody in the platform. We can make the organization, and because we are the new people in the new place, then we say it's education. And in the colonialism intelligence mindset, they used to bring the idea in a different names. Like education, it's not existing word idea. It doesn't have any meaning, the reality meaning, but it have the English meaning, as we said. If the word doesn't exist in your language, then it's what? I don't claim well, but that's what is there. They have innovation system. So our education system name could have the end result meaning that will bring us the reality in our mind from the initial step, and that will be connected with the why to be there then after. Like if you do vocational and innovation trainings, you prepare the industries, and then you prepare your people for the industry, you prepare your people for production from the root. So, and I think I've shared you, I don't claim a lot because I have a lot of documents in my house here for research. But I am sure in that document of the education and innovation system, any country in the world can adapt that. And they can adapt it without even disturbing the education organization in our countries. We bring, the government can take this idea like it's theirs, like it's theirs from the origin, motherland, right? And they can use it like an agency inside, including for just education operational system idea. It can operate there without taking back this colonial, because if you tell them to go right now home, they can kill you. So as in my research, I found we have to collaborate, but we have to operate our own systems. They are the founder of the systems, but if we operate the production of our systems, means we can have big shares. The business law know that we can own 7-9%. We can be the final say, and at the end of the day, we can even tell them to go back home legally. But using these systems, if we stay on complaining, we'll never do anything from our history. Let's learn our history. Let's do research, and in our research, let's compete them. Let's to see what the best, what the better to take us. We can have the best idea in 5 or 10 years, then maybe the idea doesn't exist anymore. In a revolution model audit, we can have this best idea, solution ideas that can help us from outside from this educational system, corrupted educational systems. And in the African government, it have this ability to cooperate, and it have this the audit system, the revolution. When I say revolution, is everybody knows is round. It goes round. So it have all the system to audit the systems. This government, it will audit your government operations because it comply the international standard ISO. They call it ISO standard. On the ISO standard, all the organizations in the world need to be audited, including your electional organizational authority that doesn't audited anywhere in the world. Even from those who brought us the politic systems, they don't audit that power. That's why they kill people in criminal in crisis war during the election or seasons. So the African government idea is the best idea. And I advise you to go through it and read it. If you have any input before we implement it, it's better. I sent all the information everywhere because it is legal and it is there in the White House. It's everywhere right now. They're discussing to see how they can manage it, because it's like the flowing of water in the liver, because it's everybody needs to be helped in the human rights well act, the human well acts that work to everybody. So the African government idea, it's the human right government idea. It consists everything. It protect everybody. It protect people. It protect production. It protect also the innovation that we speak in the African way forward that the politicians have. They are trying to take the move, but the African in the world, they need the African government, because the African government, it can lead the world. Even the White House, they can require it and can work with them as an agency to help to operate it. Because until now, I speak, the word doesn't have the legal government idea in any government. Thank you.
This is new. I must admit. You know, when I saw the description, African Government Authority Legal Idea Founder, I've been thinking, which part of the African government are you an advocate or what? And so, but now you are actually coming up with specifically what this is. This is a framework, I guess, from what you're saying. It's a framework, just like, let's say, like the framework of the Agenda 2063 with the blueprint that addresses the Renaissance or the Africa by Africans, right? And so that's going to be very interesting. And I would love to have, or to have many sessions, and so that we can begin to actually like kind of like dissect. We just don't know what it is inside there. And like I said, the African Youth Project, the youths that are speaking here are youths that nobody's going to teach them anything. They know what their challenge is and they know what they want. Africans worldwide know exactly what they want. Like, that's why it doesn't function. No implementation of just harvest and put would never work. And every day they keep thinking, and the more the resistance come, the more the profile and the propaganda follows, as if they are doomed, they cannot manage it, they cannot, the men and the women, they're just making children and fighting each other and stuff like that. But they know exactly that anything that doesn't fit on the African plate, Africans will not eat it. Doesn't matter how hungry they are. They will not eat anything they don't know. So I think this is making me getting really curious, and I think even our audience at Digital, I think you can bear with me, God, you can bear with me that this is something that is coming, from a deeper space of something that is going to bring probably something really new on all the suggestions. I don't think it's going to be different from what Alex has been saying. I don't just think it's going to be different from what Dubé just said. I don't think it's going to be different from what Peter just said. And particularly when Dubé made a statement here, and that's what actually really like brewed and like rumble inside me when she said, I would really still love to bring her to say it, because I just don't want to say people's words like this. Dubé, you remember when you opened the conversation and you talked about the most affected the girls who now, because of this issue of unemployment, actually are just selling themselves to get paid or stuff.
Yes.
It's just so crazy. You did not only kind of like, it's not a gender thing that you put, and then you also went out to say even our boys, our men, they find it difficult to build families from nothing. When you cannot feed yourself, you cannot even raise a family. But you are really particular on the consequences of women now that just become like a product. They have to do everything because they need to survive. Could you please, you've listened to the other speakers, from what Alex said about the decolonization of the curriculum, we have to go back to our systems. Peter actually said it, with the market, the universities have to produce what the market needs. And now we have Professor Dr. Azaria that is coming up with something really new that we're about to see and to actually examine from what he's, but of course he still said the same thing. Now, I would like you, because this audience was not really here in the full house that we have now, to actually articulate that point that you made as the causes and the real situation, the situation on the ground, what you are experiencing with this dilemma.
Good evening. They can hear me now. You can hear me now. Oh yes, ma'am. I was saying this unemployment issue has pushed a lot of ladies to do what they cannot do. They are just doing it for the sake of living because they want to survive now. They have to give in. And a hungry man, as they always say, you can do anything. You can kill or you can do anything. They are used and dumped after, especially the university girls. Not only university girls, those that have finished. due to this, there is high risk of illnesses, the diseases, HIVs, AIDS. The list is endless. And then now the boy child is affected as well. The family somewhere now, they are doing the armed robberies, they are carjacking. There is a lot that is happening, and our youth is very, very affected. That's true.
But there's also something that is we did not talk about. I'm still going to bring Peter here and Alex on this issue. I just hope our microphones are going to behave this time around so that we can hear each other and respond to this. If you look at this current state of South Africa today and this issue of Afrophobia, what PLO is saying, or xenophobia in the way it's,
Yes.
they just define this act because of unemployment. They justify it as the fact that other foreigners are taking away their jobs, which still goes back to what we're discussing here. Dobe, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, this xenophobia issue is a little bit tricky because it's closer to home, and I can confess, say I have a lot of relatives that are in SA. Some they are in UK and other countries, which is very true because there are few jobs here. Then they go there to try and find something so that they can feed their families. But their taking part is the one that I'm not understanding, because I beg to differ that someone can take your job when you're working. I know South Africans, they are lazy, sorry to say so, but they are lazy. Zimbabweans work. Everyone knows where there is a Zimbabwean, where there is in the US, you find them doing something, which is very true. But I believe that our government and our leaders or our schools, they should actually offer us the vocational trainings so that we don't go out to do those things, because you find out UK lately have been taking Zimbabweans to come and do nursing. Can you imagine things that can be done here in Zimbabwe? Canada recently have been taking people to just do the carpet, these jobs that we can do with our hands. Not educated, no. They'll tell you 5 or level is okay, even if we are not educated. But look at us, like, no, for you to qualify in the market, you have to learn first. We're going back to Brother Peter when he said, good, they're giving us more of theory, but there is nothing at all.
Peter?
Yeah, so personally, I think I don't like xenophobia, and xenophobia is not good when it is among Africans. When I saw this for the first time, that in South Africa, now South Africans are sending out of the country Africans. So I was like, wow, like the Pan-African fight is not moving forward, but it is like we are moving back in the fight, because we shouldn't do this among us. We cannot see South Africans sending out of the country, those from Zimbabwe, DRC, and so on and so forth. But I didn't really know about the reason. So it was just this afternoon that I've watched a video on the account of Mr. Joshua, our guest today, and I've learned about the two reasons. As Dube just said, it's like about job. So almost all the Africans are saying that South Africans are lazy; they don't want to work. But those from the other countries, they are out working, and South Africans are saying that they are picking them their jobs. So, but I think that it is not a relevant reason so that we can fight among us. brothers, we really need to be tight, more tight, because we are fighting for a good reason, a common reason, something which is related with a common sense. And if we keep on doing this, it is like we are bringing another problem. We are coming up with another problem with which will stop us to move forward with the Pan-Africanism fight. So we have to love each other as we are discussing today. For youth, for African youth, we are not talking about Central African youth or South African youth or Ugandan youth. We are talking about African youth. But if we still fighting against us, not against white people, so where are we going to? Where are we going to? So this is another issue. You can say, Dr. Tatah. So this is not really linked with unemployment, but it is something else. But I think that if we don't tackle on this sad issue, what is going on in South Africa, what we want to see, or the Africa we want to see, we will never ever see. Because when a fight comes from outside, we can win. But if the fight comes from inside, it's very, very dangerous. Very, very, very dangerous. So our fight now is to bring back the Pan-Africanism idea, to be connected again with African cultures, so that we can offer all the opportunities to the youth in order to build a better future for the next generation of Africans. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I already see, you're losing power, and coming back. And like you said, you can see one of the challenges that we're going through. I mean, that's okay. And I like the fact that, it goes out and comes back, and you're just there, and your face, it's just illuminating and going and come back. So that's us. That's the power. That's even the power of the melanin to illuminate its space in where it is. The more we know, the more better we act in such ways. So I want to get back to Alex, and then finally I'm going to bring Maponga, the king, on the show. He's been listening and to assess us as a mentor for tonight. Yes, Dubé, yes, I will get back to you. Let me hear from Alex. Alex, you heard all this. It just ties down exactly to what we were saying, isn't it?
Okay, thank you very much. Now, when we talk about the issue of xenophobia in South Africa, I think we all need to get it clear that South Africans are getting wrong. They are getting it wrong in what they are doing. Because first of all, it undermines the efforts of Africa to unite. And then secondly, it shows to us the dangers of unemployment. That unemployment in and in itself is so bad that it can lead to such divisions, hate, and even attacks that do not yield the unity that we want. We have been hearing Professor Lumba talking about African youth struggling in the seas to cross to the Western world and end up dying in the seas, 1,000 of them. We have heard what Dube has been saying about the effects of unemployment, how the youth become vulnerable to say that they choose survival, they become robbers, some end up in streets trying to for survival, simply because the system has not equipped them enough. And I think if that fear is in us, then the African leaders, because they are at the center of decision making, they ought to realize that we do not need to get scared of the survival that the youths are choosing. But what we need to do is to invest in the youth so that they become great men. I mean, so that they become great men tomorrow, cause change and transformation. Now, back to the question of xenophobia. Xenophobia, to me, I don't think the foreign nationals in South Africa are taking jobs away from the South Africans. Because if indeed they are taking away jobs, the question is, have the South Africans created enough jobs for themselves? When you look at these people who are victims to the xenophobia, you get to know these are people who have gone to South Africa to create their own jobs, most of them. And then they are those who are employed by other foreigners in South Africa. And therefore, when you look at the xenophobic movement, for them, they think that the South Africans should be the ones to be employed in those kind of jobs instead of the foreigners. But the question is, have they taken an initiative to create those jobs for themselves? And then, in the same question of xenophobia, we need to look into the reality in South Africa. We get to know that 80% of the land in South Africa has been occupied by the white settlers. And indeed, they are the ones who are controlling the economy of South Africa. Now, if history erases history, what can the South Africans do? I think the deliberate act South Africans should do is to basically reflect on their history, on how they have lost control over their economy, on how as Africans who really own the South African land lost influence within their nation. If they can be able to realize that, then they can be able to initiate movements that really look into the systematic challenges that need to be addressed instead of effects of the system that has been broken by the colonial issues. So to me, South Africans must not focus on the Africans who have gone there to create jobs, but they must focus on the system that is making them to be job seekers instead of job creators. And therefore, the call must go beyond the South Africans, but also the South African government must be able to stand up, because I have been feeling that the South African government was nowhere in a positive way when it came to this issue of xenophobia. They were more like silent, but they also need to step up and be able to understand that they need to take an initiative of creating more jobs, of revolutionizing the system and making it to benefit the South Africans and Africa at large, instead of it creating things that at the end of it all divide Africa. So that is what I would make as an input. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think you're just reflecting on what our brother Gadgat is saying here, that South Africans are fundamentally not lazy. Rather, the stereotype appears to be a systematic distraction designed to divert attention from critical structural issues. Instead of focusing the energy on comprehensive land reform and reclaiming historical wealth, many citizens are left competing for basic economic survival within an unequal system. That it just summarizes exactly the point of where we are today. And I think he just dropped another one, like getting the opinions from the community chat right here, which is very, very intensive today. And I love it. And I thank you, Gadgad. I would love to have you as guests on the show, particularly the fact that, I mean, my own people and never guest on this show. And I happen to have you. It's a whole big chunk of anything that I can just be glad to say. He said, the clinical search for Afrophobia during local and national elections windows is a stark symptom of neo-colonial manipulation rather than a spontaneous grassroots crisis, right? Instead of holding governance structures accountable for enduring socio-economic deficits, fractured communities are manipulated into vigilantism, fighting over the residual crumbs of a deeply unequal system. This systematic destruction is a calculated legacy of the apartheid apparatus intentionally weaponized to derail the revolution. I don't just think this can even just be it summarizes exactly everything that we've been saying here. And Digitaria is saying Ramaphosa's and the ANC failure is the root cause. So, South Africans, I know you're watching us. Most of our followers on Pan African Daily Youth and all the movements are actually from South Africa. And I know they're watching us right now. And I think that could serve as a point for us to start reflecting on how manipulations actually play a key role, in the displacement of intentional. I love that word, intentional. Everything that we do from now, whether it's in terms of communication or in terms of teaching, we have to be very intentional on it. I seem to not just get King Maponga connected right now. His camera is here, but he's not connected. He was already here. He greeted us, and all right, now he's back. Like, I mean, of course, he was hearing us. So let's welcome our mentor for today, King Maponga Marara Changa Bire Sove. Haya, Sove. The great one of the Munatapa kingdoms is right here in this place. And your daughter, Dubai Nukutula, is sitting right there in the studio from Zimbabwe. I'm so actually happy. But before you would say something, I think Dubai, you wanted to say something quickly before the king would come in to conclude. He's been listening to everything that we've been saying. What is it that you wanted to say, Dubai?
Oh yes. I think I left the main thing because as Africans, we're crying about this unemployment issue, but we have a solution. We have gold, we have coal, we have minerals. And the funny part is that we are the ones that dig those minerals and then we export them to the other countries. Then we import now the final results, which us guys, the youth, was supposed to be working on that so that we create our own jobs. That was the thing that I wanted to say.
Thank you. Like, we sell our resources and then import it again and even pay taxes on it and everything.
Yes,
and that's already the biggest part of the job market that we've been saying. So thank you. Like I said, we have our mentor for tonight, King Maponga Joshua. He's been listening. I'm just going to rebrief you on what your young aspirants and the leaders of tomorrow have been saying. Most of them also cited you on this issue of unemployment, which you said on one of your shows on Pan African Daily TV, that if any word does not reflect your language, that word doesn't exist. And unemployment was one of the things that you said about, in the 2020s when we started Pan African Daily TV. But the issue that the young people have been talking about, I think you got it, was, just to summarize it, the issue of the curriculum of the continent, where they are taught European histories with European characteristics, and where the system of education is not producing what the community needs. And so all this is summarizing to the reason that we have to decolonize the education system and the curriculum, and to put in place a system that works, according to the needs of the community and the community, management system. So over to you, my king. Thank you for coming and joining and starting this new era that we're starting today with you. So thank you for accepting our mentorship today. Over to you, my king.
Thank you, and greetings to all of you.
Yes.
And the wonderful, wonderful contributions that we have been listening to, the work that you have done, the books and manuals that are being written, the networks that are being established, the testimonies that are being shared. I think all this information works together to begin to create for us a new narrative through which we can, as the African children, not just complain, do opposition politics and make noise in the background, but begin to come up with solutions. I say so painfully because many of our leaders who are in power right now are far much less educated than we are. Some of them are hardly high school students. Some of them have a junior degree. Some of them may be a master's. In very few cases would you find the modern leaders who are in power right now being called doctor, like our Dr. Susan Tatah, who is here. And it would be shocking to discover that the uneducated are leading the educated, and the educated are making noise while the uneducated are making decisions. And the uneducated are making decisions for the educated. And some of our MPs in some of the countries where we know they can't even use WhatsApp. They can't even write an email on their phones. They go to their grandchildren to help them to set up their own phones. And they are the ministers of ICT, ministers of technology, ministers of innovation and industrialization. The picture is rather gloomy, but I will not want to major into that, because it might end up becoming a political conversation. Our history as Africans, our background as Africans, as I said, you rightfully quoted me, if you don't have the word in your African language, then it does not exist. I will qualify why I say that. I would say that because in the typical village, in the ancient lifestyle, everybody in the family was employed. Everyone worked. We wake up in the morning at 4 in the morning, in some seasons, even 3 in the morning, where the sun will be up at about 9, 10, and it will be too hot to work. So we'll start work very early in the morning. Those who are going to plow, they go and plow. Those who are weeding must weed. Those who must go to the river to fetch water, they go. Those that must go to the kraal and milk the cows, they do that. Those that must go and fetch firewood, they do that. Those that must fix up the granaries, those that are cleaning up the houses, those that are thatching houses, those that are forging tools in the family, the whole family unit was a functional industry. There is no one who woke up in the morning with their arms crossed and they are waiting to eat at dinner time. We did not have 3 meals a day in our village. The first meal, if you were lucky, was the leftover food from yesterday. And then it slips over in the night, then we would have it for breakfast. But lunch was a mixed maheu, you call it maheu, or a mixture of ugali with water and a little bit of sugar there, or some rapoko or sorghum porridge that has been mixed up with water. That's what you carried and you were drinking for the day. And then we would meet up for the big meal in the evening when everybody is coming back home. Now, with that culture in place, we don't have children that are sleeping in the bedrooms waiting for yogurt and waiting for cornflakes. And mommy must go to the kitchen and make the eggs. In a typical environment, then the children must go to the chicken pen and pick up the eggs. Someone must pick up the firewood. Someone must make the food. Someone must clean up the plate. So it was a unit teaching people to work together, to find each other, and contribute towards the evening meal. In Great Zimbabwe, where I come from, we even have an evening word we used to use called Dewa. D-E-H-W-A, Dewa. Dewa is an ancient culture which we practice, and some people still practice it as Shona and Karanga people. When we all go in our various ways in the course of the day, as the sun is going down, you find a piece of wood, you put it on your shoulder. The uncles, the brothers, the fathers, the mothers, we all come back in the evening, and when you come back home, we are all carrying a piece of wood. It is these pieces of wood that we put on the big fire. That will then make our meal for the evening. Meaning in that culture, therefore, you don't come to the dinner table empty-handed. You don't bring no wild berries. You don't bring no wild vegetables. You don't bring no wild birds or any form of meat. You don't bring no fruits. And you don't even bring no wood to cook the meal that you are going to eat for the evening. That, for me, begins to become the basic operative formula, the operative software on which the African mindset must be set. What you call unemployment, it almost boils down to laziness. Why do I say laziness? Because the young people who are saying that they are not employed, behind their mother's house, there is half an acre full of grass, full of flowers, that they water every Sunday because they want to look like they are Europeans who are living in a big house that has big grass. But who eats grass? Instead of turning some of these backyards into mini gardens where tomatoes, onions, and vegetables can be planted, which you are going to be eating while you're looking for employment. Many of us would rather fantasize on planting flowers and wild flowers around our yards, and then we spend our municipality watering these things that we cannot eat, which is very unfortunate. But while we are on that, the issue of employment and the issue of creating employment are two different monsters. The disaster we are finding ourselves facing in South Africa, as I heard some of our young people commenting, they are complaining about employment. That is a weak vibration complaint. Crying for employment. I thought we'd be talking about ownership of industry. We don't need to be employed by anybody. We need to create our own jobs. And jobs cannot be created where the economies are built as siphoning resources rather than creating industries. I will explain. In a country like Zambia, where you have lots of copper, one of the largest deposits on the face of the earth, is it not embarrassing that Zambia does not have factories and industries that are producing starters, alternators, and copper products? Much and many, lots of these minerals are being moved out of the country in their raw form. Every time raw material is being moved out of a country, it is going to a factory. It is going to an industry. And where those materials are going, be it coffee from Uganda or Kenya or Ghana, be it copper from Zambia, be it lithium from Zimbabwe, be it platinum from South Africa. If trucks and ships are moving the resources out, jobs will never be created. Just as an example, Dangote. Nigeria has been exporting oil for decades, raw crude oil from the Delta states. The building of the refinery in Nigeria, you can Google for yourself. How many people are now employed by one man called Dangote? This is not a government. This is an individual. Are you telling me that all you African countries, you fail to do as a government what an individual can do by himself? You cannot tell me that Dangote's money is more than Nigerian government's money. You cannot tell me that Mutsepe's money is more than South African money. This then brings us to another level, which is the level of political will in terms of our governments. Our governments prioritize things like weapons, things like guns, things like foreign missions, diplomatic missions, things like OAU or Africa Union fees. They're paying for United Nations fees. They're buying themselves cars, buying themselves entourages and motorcades. These are the things that they prioritize. And I'm so happy that Donald Trump removed all the donations on the aid for health facilities in Africa. But how dare you, as a country, that you consider the health of your people as a subject for donation, instead of budgeting it on your government budget from the taxpayers' money? Where is our money going? Because we are the taxpayers. And by being a taxpayer, we are entitled to health facilities. We're entitled to education facilities. We're entitled to functional infrastructure because this is what our tax is paying for. And if our money for taxes is not going and coming toward the services that we need, then we have a big problem. And worse, when our governments are being led by fools who can't think. You're busy talking every time unemployment, 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 and yet you know that the minerals, the agricultural projects and produces, innovation, creativity, wood, water, crops, all these, if the government can put their heart in stamping out unemployment, it can be done overnight. I loved something that I saw in Burkina Faso, where the government had a budget for public works. Public works is when you build infrastructure, including roads, hospitals, schools, etc., etc. And then Burkina Faso took the budget for infrastructure development and put a quarter of that towards youth development. What did that mean? The government was prepared to put their government infrastructure money towards the youth. How do you do that? You help the young people to set up plants where they are making concrete blocks and paving blocks. The young people started making concrete blocks, shipping and transporting gravel and granite and quarry to make those blocks. The other young people would then transport those blocks. I was shocked when I got there. During school holidays, young boys and girls absconded their holidays and started going on the streets themselves, free labor, to pave their own streets. Now look at what is happening. This is when government projects are meeting young people who are willing to participate. The winning formula. Over and above the beautifying of the city, you find that young boys and girls are beginning to learn critical skills in paving and in construction. And on top of that, the government also has built up a national service. And on top of national service, then you're in the mainstream of skills, from medicine, construction, military, to IT, to computers, to health. The list is endless. All the skills that are being needed in the army. And to show you that Ibrahim Traore is serious in what he's doing, he's not just putting industries out. He is creating valuable value chains. What do I mean by that? He makes a law in Burkina Faso. There's not more fresh tomatoes that must be exported out of Burkina Faso. That sounds harsh. And those that have been making millions from selling potatoes, they are now confronted with the problem. No, but Ibrahim Traore is smarter than that. Before he made that law, he had built farms where tomatoes are being produced. He had built a government factory where tomatoes are being processed and are being dried and they are being made into tomato sauce. And by the time you're closing the borders, all the tomato producers are now taking their tomatoes towards the industry, which is employing hundreds of people from value chain, from the agricultural project to the industry, to the packaging, to the retail and the sale out of that. Now, this is just one small little product he called a tomato. He also did another value chain on the mangoes, another value chain on the tomatoes. Now, tell me which African country does not have those basic products that I'm talking about. But where is the gap? You walk around our markets from Kampala to Nairobi to Johannesburg to Harare, you'll find thousands of tons of rotten tomatoes that are being thrown out after a day or two because they are rotten. Avocados, thousands of tons that are thrown away because they are rotted while they're sitting on the shelf. Go again on another side, thousands of pineapples. And the list goes on, bananas, plantains. And you look at this entire industry of wastage. Someone even put a proposal out that of the 100% that we harvest, almost 30 to 45% of those produce are destroyed either during transportation of the product. Some of them get spoiled on the market itself. The rest of them are going in the dustbin. And we literally walk away with maybe 55 to 60% of our entire produce. Now, if you calculate all the rubbish and all the rotten stuff that Africa is throwing away because of lack of industries to process those fruits, and I'm just talking agriculture only. I've not gone into animals. I've not gone into minerals, where people are mining platinum in Zimbabwe, and they take it away as an ore. And inside platinum, there are 14 other minerals, inclusive to uranium, to gold, which are being taken for free. The only thing they're paying for is raw materials. And you wonder, these ministers of mines, which school they went to. And if ever they went to school, they must go back and claim their school fees. They are below standard because you don't know what you are selling and you are throwing away. And while you are sending all this ore away, how many jobs are being forfeited? Now, when you begin to understand that the government needs not only to come up with policies, but they also need to put their money where their mouths are. A winning formula is when the government says, and I've heard it in South Africa, for example, where they start talking about empowerment of youth. We're doing youth empowerment. What are we going to do? We're going to give the young people money to start up small projects, whether it be in IT or in agriculture, in carpentry, or in blacksmith kind of thing. But while they're doing some of those skills, there is a big problem because the government does not buy from these very same young people in whom they've invested money. Then there's a big gap between the thinking of the government, the work of the young people, and the function to convert all this system into a functional system that can deliver what you want. If the young people are now doing agriculture, honorable government, the onus is on you as a government. Number one, to make sure that wherever you have invested the money, you become the first customer to buy these products. If it is food, that is for your hospitals, that is for your army, that is for your police, that is for your prisons, and that is for your social welfare projects. The government must now come back to the very same people that it has invested money into and become the first patron to convert their investment into products. Having said that, you find that the government will still continue to do business with the white farmers, and the young people are struggling with the loans that they've received from the government. Sad as that might seem to be, in some certain cases, the very same government will take 6 months to pay a $100 invoice. 6 months. And the poor young person who has started a project, that project will collapse. The services have been rendered. The very person who gave you the project, who is the government, he is not willing to pay you the money that you have rendered the services for. We seem to find this replicating itself on the face of the continent. Well, I think we lack systems engineers who would come up with a project and work on all the varied steps that will make those projects successful. Now, if we are beginning to start talking employment in our indigenous space, I'll close off with education. Our education, I heard someone says it needs to evolve. Well done, young lady. Someone says it needs to be improved. Well done to that. Someone says we need to teach correct skills. Well done to that. But listen to the watcher and listen to the old man talking. The very education you're talking about does not teach us about ourselves, number one. Does not teach us in our language, number two. Does not introduce us to our resources. But it is totally mismatched. Even if you can improve the IT, the question is on whose servers are those IT ideas sitting? Where is our Google server? Where is our Facebook server? Where is our internet servers where our IP can be protected? You can change your curriculum. That is secondary. Primarily, we need to have a government, therefore, that can begin to think again in terms of value chain. If you are going to invest in ICT, information and technology, you need to think through not only teaching young people how to use the computer and how to use the internet, but what platforms are these innovative ideas being placed on so that we can have a full control over our own information that we're doing. If you are going to be coming up with ideas, we want to make our own cars. Where are the innovative ideas of making these cars? What are the IPs of these cars? Are we making cars to register them in Europe and bring them back here, or we need our own IP, intellectual property centers, where innovation ideas can be harvested and kept? I mean, we have seen this 1,000 times, even on our herbs and treatments and on our flower flora and indigenous medicines. Yes, we want to heal ourselves, but you must wait for Canada. You must wait for big pharmaceutical companies still to approve these drugs, that they're consumable and they can be used by Africans and by human beings. So where is the African pharmaceutical, which can regularize, standardize? Where is the research center where these herbs can be made into tablets? Where is the African Innovation Hub, where young African ideas can be kept? Where is the African textiles, where our own fashion and materials can be protected, create businesses for our own children? The list goes on and on, so that education must not just be ability to read and write, but own the very core of what education is all about, teaching our children about their own culture. Is it not funny? Again, I'll bring Zambia to the fore. The country that is one of the largest deposits of copper. That from primary school to university, you will not find a single subject that introduces the Zambian child to their most valued, abundant resource that is on the ground. If I was the president of Zambia, I would make sure that every Zambian child has a copper bracelet on their hand that is written, "This is what we have." Start thinking how we are going to make money out of it. So that from the very elementary stage, our children can begin to know the value of the resources that they have. Education, therefore, must not respond to William Shakespeare and Othello. Education must respond to copper. And it's not new. Our forefathers have been using and working with copper for the longest of time. Zimbabwe, iron ore, tin, platinum, manganese, lithium, coal. Every African country is blessed. Unfortunately, our education teaches us what is in Europe. It does not teach us what is on our ground. It does not teach us what is underneath our ground. So that the resources between the ground and underneath the ground can meet with the resources between our two ears. There seems to be a problem. We have lots of information in our head except what we are standing on. And as long as our education does not look down, look around, and look up into the warehouse of resources, our air, that's where our televisions and telecoms are. Our soil, that's where our agriculture and minerals are. Our water, that's where our reservoirs, minerals, and other resources are. And how can you have a curriculum that does not introduce children to these three basic elements, which make us, by the way, as human beings? We are made out of air, we are made out of soil, we are made out of water. And that which we must work on is what we are. It is this symbiosis which we have as elders to say to the children, it's not about extraction, it's not about pulling things out, it's not about making money, it's not about buying and selling. It's about having that symbiotic relationship, that the elements that you are working with, they are the elements that make you. While you are exploiting them, also be aware that you preserve them so that the next generation can still find a reservoir of resources. So if we're going to be talking employment or unemployment, I think it begins, number one, with the cultural orientation of work and labor. In the Bible, they even write, Simbe Nyima Isadza. Lazy people, don't give them food. If you are lazy, you're not allowed to eat. Number two, if you cannot feed yourself, don't speak in English. Well, how do you say in English that I'm hungry? Then what were you doing in school? We hope that when you come back from school, you have solutions. Unfortunately, our universities are responsible for photocopying unemployed people and filling up the market. In fact, our universities are a nuisance, a center of problems right now. They are producing more graduates into the market, and there's no jobs for them. Instead of teaching these young people to come back with solutions, I close with my stencil and my most favorite template. Education, education, education. Before you go to university. Primary and high school, I will let you go. You're still learning how to write and read and think. But by the time you're ready for college, or technical college, come to my university. I will put your name down and I will chase you away from the university. Go back to the village. Go back to the community. Take off your shoes and walk the ground. Identify the problems that are in the community. After you've identified the problem, come back to university. Tell me, as the rector of the university, how are you going to solve that problem? I'll allow you, therefore, to come through the institution of learning to find solutions of solving your problem. You graduate from this university, go back to the village to solve the problem that you were studying and you've come back to solve. That's a 10-key solution. If we can have 100 graduates, just 100, who come back to the community with that mindset, creating jobs, it's a given. Because within these young people, there is innovation, there's creativity, there is ownership and stakeholder management. Because they're doing it themselves, they will own it, they will protect it, and they will have it. So before you say that there are problems, please go and study the United Nations documents on poverty in Africa. Study Africa Union documents on poverty in Africa. And after you've studied these documents, wherever there are problems, that's where opportunities are. So in Africa, we have the problems of water. Ask me the question, how are we going to solve water problem? We have the problem of road. How are we going to solve the road problem? We have problems of malaria. Some of you know from your villages which herbs can be used to repel malaria. We have something here in Zimbabwe, they call it some grass that just grows by the side of the river. I can even give you a formula right now. Go collect that grass, cut it nicely, don't uproot it, just cut the branches so that it can still grow and bud again. Bring the concoction home, powder it, pound it, pour some water, squeeze it out or dry it up, powder it again, mix it with Vaseline, and there people can apply it on their bodies. It's a mosquito repellent. Start selling and make money. You need, and don't even tell me you need investment. Hey, I need seed money. You don't need seed money. Just go get the shrubs, powder them together, pound them, mix them with Vaseline and cook it together and come up with your own mosquito repellent. If mosquitoes are a problem in the community, we have a problem of rubbish in many of our African cities. Take those plastics, go and find a big metal pot, cook those plastics, take them out, mix a little bit of sand, make some sidewalk bricks and etc., retention bricks, and sell them. I will come and buy them personally and put them in my own house. So where people are looking at the filth in Africa, there is money in that filth. The dirt in Africa, there is money in that. The diseases in Africa, there is money in that. The roads in Africa, there is money in that. Shortage of food, there is money in that. You know by now as Africans, we used to eat our biltong, our dried vegetables, our dried groundnuts, and a little bit of moringa. Why not come up with your own hybrid powder, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which young boys and girls can eat, walk up to your government, give them a supplement for food, make money. Wherever there is a problem, don't complain. Find the solution. Before the end of this year, our village will be up and running. I'd love you as young people, come around, rub shoulders, look at how I'm going to make money, lots of money from culture. Cultural tourism, where people are going to be learning how to make peanut butter, how to make flour, how to make meal, how to eat vegetables and indigenous plants and what. That's what I know, and that's how I'm going to make money. I discovered there's a problem when people come from diaspora, they are disconnected from their culture. How can I be a solution? So I'm creating a village where families can come, stay at the village. We reintroduce them to indigenous foods, indigenous culture, indigenous music and drums, and I'll make money from that. So let's not complain. Let's go back and pick the problem on one end and start working with solutions on the other hand. And unemployment is a Western construct. There's no African child who must eat unless they have worked. That's why of obesity, people are becoming fat and having sugar, diabetes, and high blood pressure at the ages of 9, 10, and 11. Come on, for crying out loud. Go dig up that soil, make food for yourself, plant a garden, and make sure that what you eat has come out of your hands. I thank you.
Pan-African, Daily TV, the voice of the stone, the wind is sea, Dr. Susan Tatah, hold the line, truth don't whisper, truth define, live, 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 Pan-African Daily, we are live, the wisdom, the voice, the fire we bring, building the Africa, that's the thing, who walks in front, we do, whose story is this, it's true, from the cave to the cloud, from the soil to the star, Pan-African Daily, here we are, they saw the narrative, we bought it back. Changambaya on the counter attack. No filter, no fear, no foreign frame. Africa speaking our own name. Susan Tatah, hold the mic. The past is present, the future's like this. Pan-African, Daily TV. The truth, the voice, the way. Join us live.
Authored by King Maponga himself. He's the creator of that song. And that's just the jingle. But the original song and the clip, we're going to play it in the village. In his village. That's where we're producing. And it's coming out. It's not next year. It's not even next month. It's going to come out. It's dropping out in June and July. Watch us do it. That's the creation of the new Africa. I want to thank you so very much, King. I mean, it's not only just the words and being a mentor today. I can see Dubai is still here. She was taking a lot of notes as you were speaking. Peter was here. All of them. It keeps kicking them, but everybody was here. And the Buffalo Soldiers watching you from the Caribbean, from Cameroon, the whole of Africa, from Germany, from all over the world, and not to talk about the origins of our brothers in America, all of them. Yes, this is the new epic song coming from the king himself. He just dropped it. And now that's just the jingle. We're coming out with a whole album in different motifs. So I want to thank all of you. I think this has been one of the greatest mentorship programs that we've had here tonight. And like King Maponga and we said, this is time now for us to listen back to you. Were you listening since 5 years ago? You have been following him around the world. Did you follow? Did you listen? Did you hear? Did you understand everything that was going on? So we're going back to the village model to show you that he's not just been speaking, but he's been doing the groundwork, just like Professor Pierre Olumumba, doing the groundwork with the youth mentorship, just like Professor Baina Bello, who spent a couple of weeks, and she's coming live on the show tomorrow, in Burkina Faso on the street voluntarily, went to the villages, sat with the elders, went to the biggest elephant. When you go there, no, it's a crocodile. When you go there, you have to visit. That's the ancestors of the land to take your blessings. So it is just happening. It's happening. King was talking about Burkina Faso. I was in Burkina Faso all this time, and we saw that model. And it's a model that works with no fight and nothing. And stop saying, oh, we do this, they're going to kill us, oh, they're going to do. There's nobody killing anybody now. Don't be lazy, like we said. Nobody's going to even stop you from anything that you're doing because it's your time. No solution for the world that is not coming from you. I told you in the beginning of the show, what does the world not know about China and the youth of China? Saturation. They know industries, technology, and this is saturated. What does the world not know about the youth of Europe and the youth of the West of America? But the only thing that the world is afraid is the youth of Africa, because they don't know where they're going to punch on. And particularly coming from such leaders and such awakening that's been going around the world. I mean, when President Donald Trump, like my brother said, didn't make a mistake when he said Africa has potential, even though he said no, it's because they have to build some kind of unity. But that was already the key. That was already what we need to know. And stop being afraid of everything. Oh, no, no, we cannot say this. They're going to kill us. You know, they're going to do this. No. If you're hungry, you will not even be afraid. So I want to thank you. King Maponga has a special show that is coming up. And it's going I think 2 days before, I just looked at the program that your brothers from America was saying about the conference that you're attending in America. One of the biggest conference, their conference of unity, the power of unity. And King is going to be there. A lot of us are going to be there. But just for us to continue to understand, to iron this, she's going to come on the show. Professor Baina is already coming tomorrow. And these are all elders now that are sitting in the background, mentoring you and say, let's see what you've been learning and what you can do. So I truly want to thank all of you, the viewers, the leaders who are here. Omara is one of your son, King Mapong. I'm going to put him directly to you. That has been organizing the new Pan-African Daily TV with the young people. This young student and a champion and leader from Uganda just picked upon himself and put everybody together. All what we are seeing coming up from there is not made by any other person, by yourself, and bringing it to us. All the guests have been wonderful. Dubé said something that our girls are now becoming like, just selling themselves because they need small minute thing. And you has saying you don't need to do that. And she was writing. I know she's gonna come up with a project with that. Alex and from Peter from Central African Republic said exactly the same thing. If we don't change our curriculum, but I think you've learned that the issue is not only changing the curriculum, but actually the IP systems on which we're going to save our data. Not only the data, start by doing something. We are here. As a matter of fact, we should all move to start in the village in Zimbabwe before we go to the Tapas. I cannot wait for us to shoot that video live there. It's going to be the biggest hit all over the world. Okay. So thank you so much, my beloved. Thank you, my mentor. Thank you, the youth. All of you that have taken upon yourself, to be mentors of tonight. Thank you so very much. This great, powerful young people here, starting from Joy that is watching us from Sudan, from Omara, from all Dako that has been here, all of you that are watching us in the Pan-African Daily TV Youth Movement, the new voice and the new faces of the Africa we want. If you are still not connected and you want to join this mentorship program of the correspondents of Pan-African Daily TV, please sign in on the WhatsApp page. We have about 400 youths from all over, and these are the ones that you're seeing coming live on the show, to tell us and to show us. So join us and just send us an email on panafricandailytv@gmail.com, or just reach out, text us, put it inbox on Pan-African Daily TV on Facebook. Just say, hey, I'm here. I want to join the correspondent and the new movement of Pan-African Daily TV by the young people for Africa we want. We're going to take you into the program. And thank you for all of you that have been sharing. And please have a nice evening. And we see us tomorrow here with Professor Baina, the Queen of Haiti. You dare not just miss it. Don't even miss it. We're going to put another youth program before, and she's going to be the mentor again on that program. Watch out for tomorrow, and the whole of this week will be coming live on Pan-African Daily TV. So thank you so very much. And I cannot separate without thanking the community right here for all your inputs, your engagement, and all your comments and everything that you've been doing here in the chat, in the community village right here, proposing solutions, bringing out exactly, and even empowering each one, for all the messages that they've been bringing here. We have to keep up this momentum. Pan-African Daily TV is back, but this time the voices of the young people are leading the way to the Africa we want. Thank you so very much. I love you. We stay in touch, and we see us tomorrow. And Amanla. For One
Ah,
Africa.
wait.
Thank you very much. Good night. Bye.
Pan-African, Daily TV, the voice of the stone, the wind is sea, Dr. Susan Tatah, hold the line, truth don't whisper, truth define, live, 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 Pan-African Daily, we are live, the wisdom, the voice, the fire we bring, building the Africa, that's the thing, who walks in front, we do, whose story is this, it's true, from the cave to the cloud, from the soil to the star, Pan-African Daily, here we are. They saw the narrative, we bought it back. Changambaya on the counter attack. No filter, no fear, no foreign frame. Africa speaking her own name. Susan Tatah, hold the mic. The past is present, the future's like this. Pan-African, Daily TV. The truth, the voice, the way.